Hello everyone. Welcome to another Tuesday night patrons only Eventide stream. How is everyone doing here this fine Tuesday afternoon? I hope you are having a good day, or at least a pleasant evening, one way or the other. Today I figured I'd gather folks up, and instead of focusing on Eventide stuff, which we may get to depending on how long this first topic kind of takes, I figured I might start by just kind of chatting with all of you and anybody who watches this later. Feel free to leave me comments and stuff either on this video or through the Discord. I wanted to chat with folks about the Patreon, the benefits that are being granted, what I could be doing, what I might do in the future, what I see on other Patreons, what maybe some of you see on other Patreons. I'm just trying to calibrate. I think one thing that's been going on is this Patreon's been going on for a bit now, since it kind of got resurrected, and we've had our slow periods, and there's been a few months where I haven't charged, and you know, throughout all that, I've done a fair number of these videos. That's one of the primary benefits is you know, I consider that being a patron means that you get to see behind the screen. You get to see behind the inner workings and kind of see how the sausage gets made, sometimes slowly, torturously so. But that's one of the big benefits, and that's why I've continued to do this video. This video is number 86, I think, because I number all my cards. Let me look. This one is number 86. Yeah. 86 videos have been done since the beginning of this that are stretched all the way back to the start of the kind of relaunch of the Patreon to focus more on creating a campaign setting and adventure. And I've always kind of considered that, you know, you get you know, for even at one of the lowest tiers, you get access to these videos, and these videos are my way to kind of show you how things get made. And I've been doing them almost once a week. You know, there have been a few periods of time where I've missed a week or maybe even two. There was one kind of month-long period that I took off to get some writing done. But, you know, it's been going for, you know, a little over 2 years now. So out of 104 possible videos, we've done 86, which isn't bad, right? You know, missed, you know, 18 of them total. I've missed 18 weeks out of over 2 years. So... ish. I think it's a little more than that, but that's fine. Close enough. So, you know, one of the things I've been doing is just kind of looking at some of the other Patreons, because I, you know, support a handful of Patreons, and most of the ones I support a handful of kind of content creators, people who make like videos and essay videos, kind of that sort of stuff, YouTube fodder mostly, and I also follow some writers and some game folks and, you know, some other stuff. And the stuff that I follow, mostly, I don't really get anything in return. I'm supporting them because I like their content, right? You know, one of the content creators I support just makes their videos on YouTube, and they set them as ad-free. They're not monetized videos, and that's good enough for me. Right? But it's, you know, $5 a month or something. It's not a lot. But for me, that's worth it. And they don't even put out videos. They put out maybe 2-3 videos a month, tops. They admittedly have higher production value than just this live stream. But, yeah. So, looking at some of the other Patreons, they offer kind of a standard passel of benefits. You know, they offer up Discord access. That's very common. You get access to the Discord. Now, Patreon makes that easy because they have a Discord integration, so you can award a role based on people's sub-level, which then allows them to have access to, you know, various closed-off portions of your Discord. And over the past couple days, and, you know, frankly, over the past couple months, I've been working to kind of expand my Discord, make it more of a place. And the one part of that I really haven't touched too much are the Eventide sections. Those are still there, but I haven't been interacting with them as much, and I haven't changed them at all because I'm trying to figure out what to do. And that's kind of the big point of doing this chat here today to begin with. Because right now, the benefits are access to a Discord, private streams, of which I've been doing the Tuesday one pretty regularly. The Saturday one I haven't done in quite a while, which is supposed to be for the highest tier members only, but I just haven't had a lot to do for those lately because I've been so focused on just kind of production. There isn't a lot in development that's for secrets and GMs. Discounts and free products. We've done some of that with the stuff that's come out. Credit in products, right? You know, mentioning or, you know. So for example, at the end of this video, everybody at a certain tier and higher, they're in the credits at the end as a thank you. And the PDF version of part 1 of Wolfran's Fate has all the patrons up to that point in it, as a thank you in the very beginning. So that's a part of it. And then for the people at the very highest tier, they actually have an extra benefit, which is word count. And they are getting free word count added to their total every month. They can redeem that word count for me to get writing. To get, you know, hey, you want an adventure? You want me to make a character for you? You want me to make a thing for you? I'll be totally honest. I have had precisely one redemption of that material in the entire time that we've been doing. So it's not... It's a very luxury thing because I'm giving it to folks at my word rate, which is, you know, not that expensive. Every month, folks get 100 words, which is about $10 worth of their membership at my word rate. Right, 100 words for me is about $10. And they can build that up and get whatever they want. So that's kind of the stuff I offer right now. There's part of me that looks at the various patrons out there, and there are some that are kind of more expensive. Right? If you... Yeah, Cap probably has a huge pile of words. If you look at some of the bigger video content creators, to get a credit at the end of their video because they have so many patrons is actually kind of pricey. Because they want to keep it so that they're not doing an end credit roll that's 7 minutes long. Because frankly, it hurts their YouTube metrics. So I get how and why folks do that. But those are pretty pricey. I'm not as big of a creator, so, you know, for me, getting credit in those sorts of things is actually relatively inexpensive. Comparatively. Like, some of them are like $35 or $40 or $50 to get that level of benefit. And like, for some of them, that's all you're really getting. You may get access to the videos that they're producing a week early. Now, I'm not quite working that way. I'm making products. But I have made sure that you folks get stuff early. You get it before everybody else. So that is an aspect of it in my own way. So there's plenty of kind of high-end Patreon folks who kind of charge more for frankly less, but they have a higher profile. I get how that works. Smaller creators tend to fall into different categories, and I don't really need to break down all of them, but I think I'm trying to decide whether or not I reduce all my prices to bring in just more folks and make it more of a thing. Bring more people in here. Frankly, the number of supporters of the Patreon has been steadily kind of dropping. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that my move and all that stuff just kind of disrupted my productivity and stuff, and that, frankly, caused some people to drift away, and that has yet to kind of stem. That's fine. It's mostly stable right now. But it is a thing that I am considering. I think, you know, I've talked here about changing up kind of what the Patreon is kind of all about. And make it less focused on just one project and more about all of my games and all of the things I'm working on. Because I do think that there's more there. There's more interest there. I do have a lot of things, a lot of irons in the fire that get work at various points in time. And some of that I'm just not showing to anyone right now because it's not part of this Patreon. So, I think that's an aspect of it. I think some of the other game producers are putting out what I like to call periodic bonuses. They are things like every quarter you get a sticker mailed to you with a postcard, or you get a free small PDF You know, like just a 1 or 2 page thing, nothing huge, just a little thing, right? And I am thinking that there might be something to that. That, you know, as kind of a guy who is known for Pathfinder work, you know, doing a thing that's like, yep, at this tier level, once a quarter, you get a little 1-page adventure. And it only goes out to my patron. That's it. That's one of the rewards for being a patron. And you have to be subbed for the, you know, at least 2/3 of the period to get it, right? You know, that way folks who show up right at the end maybe don't get it, they'll get the next one. But, you know, something like that. I don't know. There's a bunch of different ways I can do that sort of stuff. So, I mean, ultimately, what's it coming down, what this is all coming down to is me just chatting with all of you about what you want. Frankly, if you're here, if you're watching this video, you're frankly one of the more devoted folks to this Patreon. You've been here for a while. Most of the folks who are here have been here for the whole run, or at least a large portion of it. So I'm kind of turning to you to say, what do you want? What would you like to see? And, you know, there's some things that I can offer. There's some things I can't offer. I can't offer in-person games right now. I'm not traveling to convention. You know, I'm not doing the, like, hey, I'm at a show, you can come play a game with me. That's just not on offer right now. Digital games might be, but that's also a gigantic expenditure of my time, right? You know, frankly, running a game for me, especially one that I have to write from scratch, you know, a 4-hour game will easily take 4-ish hours to write at a minimum in research and make sure I have all my ducks in a row. I'm going to have to build it in a digital tabletop. That's another couple hours, and get everything set up. So, you know, running just one session for somebody can easily be like an 10-hour commitment of my time. And that's not nothing, because I often find that my time is pretty limited. So, you know, I'm sorry, I'm just catching up with chat here. Hey there, folks. Yeah, so, I mean, that's just kind of what I'm trying to figure out, right? I think there's part of me that wants to create kind of a really basic tier that's just like, you get Discord access, you get access to the videos. That's kind of it, right? That's the most basic tier, and it's real cheap, right? It's maybe, you know, a couple bucks a month. That's it. That's all there is. There's nothing else to it. That's all that there is. And on top of that, I'm thinking that, yeah, so on top of that, I'm thinking that, you know, doing a periodic, so, you know what, here, let me organize it this way. If I were to do this, I'm thinking that the way this would go was, there's kind of, I'm going to call it the entry level, which is, you know, I'm just going to put $1 sign next to it. I don't know what the price is. A couple bucks. And that is Discord access, video access. That's kind of it. It's the bare bones minimum. It's just, you just want to see what I'm up to. Then there's kind of what I would like to call the mid tier. These are the folks that are interested in more. They're you know, they're not deep pockets, and that is all of the above, plus, you know, a periodic loyalty bonus, and probably something, you know, credit in videos, and probably a discount on some product when they show up. And then I would say there's a high tier. And that's all of the above. Free products, annual big bonus, and probably something else. Probably something, you know, super nice. I don't know what. That maybe only rewards, like, you know, another high-end periodic bonus. So if the mid tier has like every 3 months micro PDF thing, annual big bonus, and maybe a periodic 6-month bonus thing. Not sure what. That's what I'm thinking. Roughly. Lichmas card. Yeah, well, like, there could be, a annual big bonus. There could also be a anniversary thank you card. Right? You can do things like that. Right? That makes sense. Right? Oh, I know one thing I could include. Book plates. So a book plate is basically me sending you a signed sticker that, you can put in your book. It's a way to sign a book when you can't actually be there to sign it. Something like that. Settle rules arguments. So, that does get into the one thing I definitely don't want to do, which are things that I literally can't do. Is because this is my Patreon and not in any way affiliated with Paizo, I really can't do anything that would step on my work's toes. Right? Answering rules disputes, I could do that as a GM, as kind of a joke thing with a bunch of caveats. But I couldn't do it as, as an official capacity. Obviously. I know no one's asking, but that's what I'm saying. And I couldn't do behind the scenes on my work for anything that isn't out, right? So, for example, I could do a behind the scenes on how I built the first part of Spore War, but I couldn't release that until Spore War came out. Then I'm free to talk about it, but until it's out, I can't really kind of give away my behind the scenes stuff. So let me take a look here. Let's see. Katrina, I agree. Yeah, you should have to be a patron for the entire time. Or there should be a cutoff, which is just like you have to be a patron for at least half of that time period. Then you can qualify. Roughly. Something like that. It just needs to be clear. Fewer videos with an expanded range of topics, Jeremy. Yeah. I think part of this is me being able to be like, I don't have a topic for the week, but news drop, right? Big news drop. Like, for example, today, D&D talked about its upcoming Player's Handbook and what changes it were going to contain. We also have multiple Kickstarters going on right now, or other game properties that are trying to cleave the line between Pathfinder and 5th Ed, and actually using that language in their description. I could talk about all that stuff. Now, I'm not going to trash it or anything like that, but I could look at it from an analytical perspective and see what they've said, how they're trying to position it, what they're trying to do, where I think they might have success, where I think they might have struggles, right? You could get those insights out of me. That's fine. I think that is something we could certainly do in this space. Katrina, I appreciate that you are a supporter here. You've been here the whole time, if I recall correctly. So yeah, I think a lot. I had no idea there was a 3.5 rules line you could call, but that's that's a choice. Yeah, I think there is almost an element of the kind of once a week video could be less of an event thing and more of a, we're going to recap the news of the week. Here's the link. The link is, we're going to talk about, what game news there's been this week, if any. Maybe there hasn't been, maybe there has been. And then outside of that, we're going to talk about my current projects, where they're going, what's going on. It does make me think that there might be room in my life for 2 different videos. One of which is specifically a just kind of weekly news and report and update and check in. And then there is probably a deeper dive kind of thing. I'm going to put a note about that. Video types. Weekly, let's see. Weekly news and updates. Game design deep dives. Gaming retrospectives. I would love to do these. These might actually be things that I then later cut up and release to the public some period of time. What I'd love to do is, it's something I've been thinking about doing for a while. I have a rather extensive game library. Big surprise, I know. Going back to when I was a kid, you know, and I would love to, like, do a retrospective that is like, let's take a look at, you know, this game, right? You know, hey, let's take a look at Dark Conspiracies. Let's take a look at, you know, the old version of Chill. Let's go ahead and do a deep dive on Mech Warrior, right? You know, frankly, I have a lot of games in my library that I think we could do a dive through. And the video types of the week could mix it up, and there could be a type of these that is only for a higher tier, possibly. I don't know. If a snake could wear barding. Isn't a snake already wearing barding? I mean, it has scales, right? Wearing scale mail. All right, I'm ashamed. Board game reviews. Yeah, I mean, I could do board games reviews. God knows I have enough board games. Looking at the wall of listen, the whole thing. There's about 3 feet for the door, and then the rest of the wall of this room, board game, floor to ceiling, literally almost touch it. So I do have plenty. So yeah, I think, you know, I'm sorry, the chat and me are very off sync. So when all of you start sighing over my bad joke, that came in like a minute later. So, you know, that's what I saw. It was, I talked about something else at that point. I'm like, what did I say? Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. I don't, like I said, I haven't yet decided when some of these changes are going to take place. You know, and I am still focused, obviously, on getting Eventide stuff done. Work on the second adventure is coming along quite nicely, actually. I still have some work to do, but it's getting there. The progress is being made, and then I can get it out to edit, and once it's back from edit, I can go straight into layout, because I have the art. So, yeah, I do like that. Yearly could include a Discord Q&A. I also like that the high tier has a premium Discord channel. Which it currently does, right? So for those of you at the highest tier level, there is a premium Discord channel that only you can see. And that could also include Q&A in it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And I do think it's something like $5, $10, $20 or something. And that's it. I'll say this, for those of you who have been building up word totals, I'll honor those, right? You know, as long as you're still in the Patreon and I still have a way of contacting you, I will honor those gladly. But I do think that I will probably phase them out just because no one's used it, really. Yeah, there's a VIP chat. Oh, well, so on my Discord, yeah, folks, I don't know how public I've been about that. There is a VIP chat on my Discord that you get into by being a Twitch subscriber for 2+ years. Maybe it's 3+ years. One of them. That's the VIP chat. But there is a high tier Eventide Lord board that, frankly, the only thing it's been used for mostly is just showing them things first. They see it when I get it. They got a chance to see some of the art as it came in and stuff like that, but it hasn't been used in a bit. Again, those boards have been kind of quiet, and I do want to keep them, but I also think that they need to evolve just like everything. Well, and I get that, right? So here's the thing: I get that my word rate, 100 words doesn't seem like a lot, and it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not. One whole page in a book is 900 words, generally speaking, without art. You add art into that, and then it drops down to probably, you add a full body shot or something, and you're easily down to like 600 word page. But that's like half a year worth of being a sub. So, even for the folks who have been here since the beginning, they maybe have 4 pages worth of content with art. Assuming I just grab some stock art and stuff to make it look nice, which I would, because I have a bunch. But yeah, it is precious, right? And I get that's probably why a lot of folks haven't used it. But at the same time, it is like a thing I'm just slowly building up a debt on. Like, I do have some rules in there about, hey, if a bunch of folks redeem all at once, it'll be first come, first serve. And I'm not telling anybody that any of that stuff has a sunset date, because it doesn't. As long as I keep a record of it, you will get to keep it. There may come a point where I'm like, all right, everybody needs to cash out, but that's not anytime soon. And I'd have to make sure I have a clear deck so I could get all the words written, right? Because it is the sort of thing where, 1,000 words a month builds up, and all of a sudden, after 2 years, I owe 30,000 words worth of, content. 30,000 words is not nothing. That's a few months of writing, or it can be, depending on my free time. So I do want to make sure I'm responsible about that. But that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now. And I want your ideas. What I get that you're here because you like my games, you support my work. Perfect. Happy to share it with you. Happy to share the behind the scenes, happy to share how this stuff gets made, how it kind of comes together, what the financial pictures look like, because frankly, game companies can be pretty quiet about that sort of stuff, and for good reason. Business. But you're my patron, so you get to see it. I don't care, right? I don't need to be secret with you, right? Wolfran's Fate Part 1 has sold just over 100 units on drive-thru. That's not much, right? Hope Finder, by comparison, has sold a lot. A lot more. Boy, last time I checked, both of them were over 500 units sold on drive-thru, and that doesn't count any of the free ones that got given out as part of the Kickstarter and stuff. So, and then you count all the print copies that have been sold, and, Hope Finder has sold thousands of copies. That's a big deal for me, as a small imprint publisher. And finding ways to do more things that are of that scale. And that doesn't mean I don't like Eventide. I do. It's kind of my passion project. But it's a little harder to gain traction with it, which is funny and weird considering, my position at Paizo and stuff. But I think another big part of it is just that it doesn't have the world stuff. It doesn't have the rules that come with all. So partially, it's just not done. So, yeah, well, that's kind of what I'm thinking, is that, doing a once every 3 month or so micro adventure, is, not hard to do, right? And I'm not saying that I want to pick things that are easy, but what I'm saying is that's pretty straightforward. And if the high tier gets, once a 6 month gets a longer thing, and by longer, I mean like 4 pages or something, right? It's just a bit more of an effort. I think that's kind of a fun thing to do. And I would probably include like some sort of lockout on them. It's like, yeah, you get them, and 6 months later, I might put them up for sale on Drive, right? As micro Pathfinder PDF, or bundle them up after I have them, right? Do something. But all of you would get them for free and get them way. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, the special Hope Finder versions, the ones that I poured a ridiculous amount of time into. Each one of those took many hours to make each. Were definitely worth it. I'm glad that folks enjoyed them. I have some other things in mind for the future that I'm still working on that are still coming together, but you will all hear about it first. I'll say that. So yeah, I do think that that's a fun way to incentivize folks to come and hang, because I do think part of this is, you know, right? So there's a balance point floating around, and the balance, to be entirely frank, is, you know, I only have X number of hours in the week that I can devote to other things, right? You know, I got my day job, and that keeps me pretty busy. Last week it kept me very busy. In fact, sorry there wasn't a stream last week. I literally had to do approvals on an important project. So that took up a gigantic amount of my time. I worked very late on both Tuesday and Wednesday to get it. And as a result, I couldn't do this. And I couldn't do anything else either. It blew a hole in my week and prevented me from really getting it done. So whenever I'm looking at my week, there's this weird thing about being a person who can create things where I have to budget my time. And by that, I don't mean just, oh, how do I spend it? I mean, how do I spend the time that I'm going to spend making money outside of my day job, right? You know, and what do I spend that on? Because I can always, being in my position, the upside is I can always get more freelance from Paizo if I want it, right? There is not a day that I couldn't walk in and be like, hey, I'll write this. And they would give it to me. They would let me. But I don't just want to do that sort of work. That works, you know, I get paid once. That's it. I decided several years ago that I wanted to build some things that I own, that if they became very successful, I would be the one to benefit, not Paizo. And that doesn't mean I don't like Paizo or anything like that. I just wanted to have some things that I own. That's what Minotaur Games is all about. So when it comes to what do I spend my spare time on? You know, I have all these other games and things that I'd like to make, all these things that I'm kind of envisioning, these things I kind of dream up, and finding the time to do them, I always have to balance that against, well, I could do that, or I could spend time, you know, writing for Paizo and get paid X, and I know what X is, because I know how much I could write. So this Patreon is really a way for me to free up that time, to feel like I don't have to spend that time taking freelance for Paizo and can instead dream my little dreams and do things that frankly aren't as profitable, right? Eventide right now, cards on the table, considering how much I've spent on art and editing, is a net loss compared to the amount I've sold. Even if you take all of the Patreon money and put it towards it. Just about. You'd have to budget. But it's not great. Art is very expensive. You burn through your budget really quickly with art. And early on, I paid for some very expensive art that I haven't even really gotten a chance to use yet. So that's kind of where I'm at. And that's frankly the ongoing struggle, right? I'm not a big enough, you know, Minotaur Games is not big enough to kind of fully bankroll itself. I think it's getting closer to that. I think I'm probably one or two large crowdfunders away from being able to be like, yeah, this is now self-supporting, right? It has now a nest egg that it can use to invest in the next thing, and then that can go onward. But it's not there yet. And so I'm constantly having to kind of throw money into it to get money out of it from a business perspective. As it turns out, making games is all fun until you realize you have to pay for a bunch of pretty expensive stuff. So, you know, here, look behind the curtain. It's terrible. I do it because I love it. But yeah, I also recognize that it's not a thing that you can just do without risk, right? An old joke in the game industry. How do you make $1 million in the game industry? Start with 2. Right? It's sad. It's sad, but it's kind of true. So let's see. I got a question in here. Little side question, but once the core work on Eventide is done, do you think it's something that would be worth doing a Kickstarter on, or would it be really dependent on other factors? I I mean, honestly, my initial goal plan here was to eventually do a crowdfunder for it to produce a print copy. And the print copy would probably be the player's book and GM's book in one as a hardcover. And then Wolfram's Fate as an adventure, probably hardcover, maybe Perfect Bind on its own, right? And that would be it, right? That would be all that there would be. It'd be a very straightforward crowdfunder just to pay for the printing cost and allow it to happen without going broke. Yeah, what's behind the curtain? Math! Turns out that was behind there before, too, because most games are just math, right? It's once you boil down most games, it's a very large and complex mathematical formula. So, understanding that that's what's back there, math. So there's that. So ultimately, I'm looking at the Patreon as a way to kind of, frankly, support my mad tinkering. And I want to give all of you value for doing so. But I also recognize that it's not necessarily a one for one. You put in $1, you get out $1. And that's okay. That's what it's supposed to be, right? Especially considering Patreon takes a cut. Not a huge cut, but they do take some. So that's kind of where I'm at. I've been thinking about this for a while, and recently it's kind of come to the fore just as I've looked at some other Patreons that I'm a supporter of and what I'm getting for what I'm putting in, and in most cases I'm happy. It's like $10 here, $15 there, whatever. And for those, I like their content a lot, and I want to keep supporting it and making it happen, and that's fine. But when I look at how I interact with this platform, I've mostly just been using it as a way to generate the seed money necessary to make the adventures that I've been working and the game products I've been working on, because the art's so expensive that, frankly, for some of these, right, if I actually tried to break even, I would have to sell like 1,000 copies just to break even. And that's really hard to do in the RPG space when you're just getting started out. That's why a lot of RPGs don't go anywhere. They go bust, they go bankrupt. That's why crowdfunders kind of worked for that. But even then, you look at, a lot of the crowdfunders today, and frankly, most of those are now backed by giant companies or people with a fair amount of seed money to be able to afford all the art and all the layout and all the, So it is this sort of catch-22 that you need a bunch of money and you need a bunch of presence to be able to have it not just be a loss, that, the thing that you are super passionate about just cost you money to make it. Well, Jeremy, I appreciate that. And Alara, I appreciate that as well. Yeah, I mean, I think, that is kind of my goal, is to kind of share the fun things that I'm trying to make and build with all of you. Going back to silly little things like Elephant in the Room, which, by the way, I've got a revision that I want to do to that. I want to put out a second edition, because I came up with it would be a slight tweak to the rules. Most of the cards would stay the same, but the rules would be tweaked in a way that actually makes the game make more sense. So, anyway, for those of you who enjoyed Elephant in the Room, I'm still playing around with that. I've got another RPG. I have actually 2 RPGs that I'm in the process of building right now. One of which is kind of a hack of Pathfinder. Another hack of Pathfinder. The other one's something else entirely. And yeah, well, Jeremy, I certainly feel you on that. The art for covers and stuff is tremendous, right? Most of the Wolfram's Fate Part 1 and Wolfram's Fate Part 2 both had budgets of several $1,000s for the art, and if you break that up amongst your number of copies when you're selling them for, $10 a piece, and you're only getting $6 each out of them, you gotta sell a lot of copies just to break even. So, but yeah, I've got other RPGs I'm working on. I've got a few card games that are still kind of lingering around the process that I'd like to work on. Just have stuff. I've got stuff I want to play with, stuff I want to bring to life. And it does feel like this Patreon's the way to do it. Because it keeps me motivated and it allows me to show stuff off. And frankly, You know, now that I'm talking about it, I think there is one other thing that I should put in here. And I think this goes in the mid-tier. Which is access to playtest version. It's not something I wouldn't charge people for it as a standalone thing, but if you're a patron, you should get access, right? Maybe that's even an entry-level thing. Because honestly, I could use the playtesters. So no. I don't want to make it seem like a super premium thing. But it would be a good way for me to control my playtest group and know kind of how many folks I've got who are interested in playtesting a thing, as opposed to just kind of shotgunning it to Twitter. Right? I think that's the right call, maybe. It's definitely an interesting thing to play. I do want to be careful about overcommitting. I'll say that. Because the last thing I want to do is commit to a bunch of stuff and then not be able to deliver. Because that's not me. I don't like that. But I don't think I'm within tolerance. I mean, because I have to balance all of this alongside spending time creating content, right? Because right now I stream 2 times a week. I've got a game that meets on a pretty regular basis. You know, I've got all my work stuff. I've got, you know, day that I do chores around the house. I've got, you know, I just have a lot of things going on. And I want to make sure that I'm able to responsibly carve out time and be like, this is going to be my time for this. Every week I'm going to work on stuff from roughly this time. And, you know, some of that's still kind of coming together. But, you know, other parts of it are pulling together nicely. So, yeah. Volunteers wanted. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it, right? Having playtest versions that folks can monkey around with is a useful thing to have. So, yeah. All right. Well, okay. Here's where we're at. Looking at the time, I think I'm going to call it here very shortly, just so that I have plenty of time to get ready for my next stream. But I will say this to all of you that are here, and any who watch this later, by all means, come to the Discord. You know, we can chat about it in... let me take a look. We can chat about it in the Eventide project. That's probably the right place to do it, because that'll be the place that almost everybody has access. That everybody should have access. So by all means, let's chat about it. You got ideas for things that you might be interested in seeing, or things that you definitely aren't interested in? Let me know. Maybe I'll do some polls in there too, just to get folks to take a look at those and chat it up. I'll see if I can't get some of those pulled together in the next couple days. And, you know, I think we'll look at sometime this fall of making this swap happen. Because I do think that moving to a new system is going to take a little bit of time. There'll be some system shock. We'll lose some folks. We'll gain some folks. I'll start a renewed kind of push to draw people in, and then we'll get it going. Turn on those Discord alerts. Or not. You know, hey, listen. I gotta be honest with you. I'm in a lot of Discord servers. Like 40 or 50. And I don't pay attention. There's a bunch that are just entirely muted. They're there because I know I occasionally will want to go in there and see if there's any news or folks chatting. But yeah, it's more like 30. But still, it's a lot. It's so many that if I had all my alerts on, it would be nonstop. I'd get alerts constantly. Every forum has posts. I don't need to see all of them, but you know, I go check them out. And I do recognize that I'm only one Discord server amongst many. But I do want to make, you know, the Labyrinth, which is kind of what I call it, you know, a fun and engaging place for folks. I have been adding some things lately. Spoiler alert, there are more rules and more automatic things that can happen on the server if you type or say the right things. But you know, Rasmir's lurking around, waiting, watching, checking up on the faithful. He lives there. So we're going to let the Razmir chatbot do the work, at least for the time being. But, you know, going forward, that is a place I want to kind of grow. Because, frankly, it's a hell of a lot more reliable than Twitter or Facebook or really any of the other social media platforms that force you to play and fight with an algorithm. And I'm tired of it. I don't enjoy doing it. I mean, I'll play the game because that's the game that there is to play. But I'd much rather have a place where I can just kind of hang out. That's right, you know, and just kind of talk to folks and kind of get their thoughts and speak to people directly and not have to deal with the filter of a giant corporate. So, yeah, I hear you. I think I'm getting close to the great pruning, Katrina. I do have a handful in there that I'm positive I have not looked at, opened, read a message from in months, if not years. So there is that. Is Razmir the commissioner, Matt? That's a secret. You'll have to find out. All right, folks. That's all I have for you here today. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for being patrons. I really do appreciate you. All the folks that are here, I think most of you have been here for a long time now. And even if you haven't, I'm glad you're here now. But for those of you who have been around since the beginning, thank you so much. That's the reason this is all happening. This is the reason why it's still going forward. It wouldn't happen without you. So I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for your continued support. I'll keep all of you informed very much as things go forward. So take care of yourself. We'll see you next time.